All right, welcome into the KATV podcast studio where today James Bryant, our weekday, everything weather guy, is going to play along with me as we go through the Razorback season. We're going to try to do this week by week and kind of get a feel for the opponents that Arkansas is playing and also just have a little fun maybe watching you beat me in some EA College Football 25.
Well, we can hope so.
James, there's a reason that I picked you to be the Razorbacks each week. It's because I think that you are significantly better. This week, Arkansas taking on UAB, the Blazers. Let's get things going here. Arkansas kicking this one off. James, what are you looking forward to about this week?
Man, honestly, I just hope the Hogs can take care of business. You know, you lose a tough game like last Saturday. I think it would benefit them if they can just get up big, hold the lead, and get out of this with no injuries.
Yeah, we look at UAB's got a quarterback, Jacob Zeno. This is a guy I actually covered when I was covering Baylor a few years ago. It feels like a lifetime ago. I don't know if you remember when Baylor played Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game.
Was that the year of the comeback?
No. So yes. So Baylor played Oklahoma in the 2019 Big 12 championship game, and they were down by 2 scores, and Gary Bohannon, the pride of Earl, Arkansas, was the quarterback at the time. He got hurt, and they brought in Jacob Zeno, and in his first college pass was, I think, an interception. His second one was like a 75-yard touchdown, and then he threw another like 60-something yard pass. Baylor wound up missing a field goal. So he's got big game experience, but he wound up losing the quarterback battle to Blake Shapen, who's now the quarterback over at Mississippi State, transferred to UAB where he's been the starter for a while. And one thing to know about him, completion percentage is a big deal as he throws an interception. Right on cue. The announcer's curse applies to video games as well.
TJ Metcalf.
No, Zeno, big thing with him, completion percentage. He's completed more than 70% of his passes in college. But I don't think that at UAB he's facing the kind of defenses that he's going to be facing on Saturday, a guy like TJ Metcalf.
I guess you saw the comments from, Trent Dilfer on Bob Petrino.
I did not.
This week. Just on how awesome of an OC he is, awesome of a play caller. Man, I know it's just I'm just gonna say it all season long. It's so awesome to see him calling our offense.
It was fun at Oklahoma State this past weekend. I know the ending wasn't the way that you wanted, but that first half to watch the way.
Oh goodness.
That there he goes.
Arkansas's run defense is better than this.
They are. And that's one thing that you look at this UAB offense, I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball, and they weren't able to protect this past week. That's if you look back at, they played ULM in week 2. They gave up a ton of sacks to a ULM team that does not have the pass rush that I believe Arkansas has.
Well, okay, that's a great thing that you bring up there. What is behind no pass rush the first 2 weeks?
Well, I think part of it's been the way that Arkansas has been scheming things up. Hey, touchdown, UAB.
All right. It's all right. Just some early season
early season James jitters. But, no, I think part of it's been the way that they played. You look back, Ollie Gordon, there was a clear game plan, a clear strategy there to say we're not going to let that guy beat us. And so you saw consistently the D-line not necessarily trying to actively work into pass rush situations. They were more concerned like, hey, don't let this reigning Doak Walker Award winner beat us.
Whoa.
I've
never returned a kick on this game.
Really?
Yeah, first
one. I'm proud to be the one to allow you to have this moment.
Just right up the middle. It's crazy.
But along those lines, we also saw against UAPB, you didn't have to, they were getting pressure to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Even though UAPB wasn't really ever throwing the ball deep. Oklahoma State didn't really throw the ball deep either.
They got rid of the ball quickly.
That was the thing, was they came in with, the way they countered was they had Alan Bowman throwing a lot of slants, a lot of RPOs, a lot of that kind of stuff. that didn't really allow Arkansas to have a pass rush. So I'm expecting against a team that does not have a great pass protection, that this could be the week that we finally see guys like Landon Jackson, Anton Junkaj, who I see you lined up there as, have a big week.
There we go. I hope so. The weather's going to be perfect.
Give us a little forecast for this weekend, James.
3 in the afternoon. It'll be 82 degrees, partly cloudy, not too humid. It's just a great afternoon for football. As you look around the SEC, I'm pretty excited for South Carolina and LSU, just because I thought South Carolina's season was over after they barely beat Old Dominion, and then they went and killed Kentucky. And now I'm like, oh, okay.
Just shows you how things can change
week to week. Oh my gosh.
What a dot.
Sometimes on this game, I think it plays to the offense.
Oh, 100%. But college football as a whole plays to the offense.
You could play 3.5 quarters of amazing defense and then give up a lot of points in the final frame.
Where have we seen that before? No,
too many times.
I left Oklahoma State being in Stillwater. I left that.
Oh yeah,
game,
you were there.
Yeah, I left that game with a lot of optimism, despite how it ended. I think that you don't luck your way into 600-plus yards in back-to-back weeks.
That was incredible. Even though we lost, it's been incredible.
And the way, like, Jaquindon Jackson's ability to run the ball consistently against a good, not great, Oklahoma State defense bodes well. You think back to last year. We left Western Carolina.
We had questions.
And it was like 3 yards a carry.
Yeah.
You left Kent State. And it was like, okay, this is a real problem. And then by the time SEC play got here, that revealed itself full-fledged.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that this week. 3 to 4 weeks in, you know what you have. Regardless of win-loss record, if you're bad, you're bad. And if you've got something to build on, you've got something to build on. And I really think this year, Arkansas is so much better. Right now, I think they're top 5 in the country in offense. But, they could finish the season, even after SEC play, I think top 30.
Oh, yeah. Which would be a huge improvement.
It would almost be a 100-spot improvement from where they were a year ago. And my thing is I have a hard time seeing a 100-spot improvement in offense and you winning only one more game and going 5-7. I just have a hard time seeing that.
And the schedule will have a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
And that's, one of the hard parts that you see about this Arkansas team, which is why when you play a team like UAB, you have to find a way to win. You have not just win, but win convincingly.
Take care of your business.
Take care of business.
Oh, that hole opened up, and
I could not capitalize.
Some of the clips floating around of bad things happening on this game are incredible. I hope we get one. I hope it happens to you.
It will happen to me.
But I am playing as Arkansas, so.
Oh,
hey, we need to cool it on the body slam. Second down.
Did you just have some flashbacks from this past week?
No WWE body slamming.
Now, tell me, James, you got the chance to watch this game,
Mm-hmm.
watch the Oklahoma State game, not from the field. I'm shooting the game. Sometimes we get to lose the forest through the trees of this game as I'm shooting the game.
Yeah.
Walk me through what you saw, just kind of how things unfolded for you, and what were your big takeaways from Stillwater?
Immediately, I was like, oh my gosh, the offensive line is opening up huge holes for our running backs. And Jaquindon Jackson, he strikes me as a guy who could be one of our better running backs over the last, however many years. Dominant. If he can stay healthy, I think he can dominate. So that was the first thing. And then Talon Green's ability to improvise on second and third down. How many times over the last few years would any other QB have taken a sack and he gets out of it? And really, the game, we obviously know, turned on the pick six. The play before, he rolls out, hits his receiver in the end zone. You go from possibly being up 21-0 to 14-7. It's painful.
It is. And those are the kind of things where you look at it and it's like missed opportunities. And that's been a thing that's plagued this program for forever.
But that doesn't mean going forward they're going to miss opportunities.
Exactly. And this is a coaching staff, and you feel like surely you aren't going to see multiple like punt returns ruined by your own guy running into you.
Yeah.
Like that's a problem that's fixable, as opposed to we can't run the ball.
There's regression. There's regression to the mean. There's also progression to the mean.
Exactly.
So you're terrible in one-score games over the last 2.5 years. That at some point the ball has to bounce your way, right?
Good tackle.
You going for it?
Oh, always. Mainly because I'm so bad at kicking the ball.
Oh yeah.
I also think Trent Dilfer is going to be someone who's going to roll the dice in these kind of situations. You got nothing to lose when you come into Reynolds Razorback Stadium.
Oh yeah.
As an underdog like
Man,
this.
I do not like watching G5 teams play really well and then kick field goals, because you got to have touchdowns. And
like that.
So I was in a goal line defense, and that guy was just completely uncovered. Good call on passing. But South Florida plays Alabama really well. They get down to the 5-yard line and kick a field goal.
And then Alabama scores 90 in the fourth quarter.
Now, Alabama probably still would have scored several times, even if USF had tied the game there. But, you got nothing to lose. Did Northern Illinois win by being conservative? And I'm referencing the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
That's so the fun part about being at these games and covering them is that, as you're down there shooting, you have no idea.
You're truly surprised.
Yeah, I got back to my car, and I had a friend with me who, was able to pull up games on his phone, and we were just like, oh, what's going on? And there was about 45 seconds left, and Northern Illinois was ahead. And so, you walk into those situations, and you're like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, and this is what we talk about in college football every week, anything can happen. Which is why, Arkansas will not come into this week looking ahead too much to Auburn.
I don't think they will either. I think these guys just want a big win. Last week and this week, they look. If you were a casual college football fan, they look. You know what just happened right there?
You saw X.
I saw X wide
open. You said,
open.
I play Xbox,
Yep.
and you hit the square button.
Yep. I cannot punt this ball. I just can't do it. I'm going for it. 4th and 4 from my own 26.
Well, you touched on it, James. Arkansas has become a fun brand of football this year. And you see it in a game like this, in the college football video game. I've seen so many people decide they want to play as Arkansas because Talon Green can do what you just did there. He can roll out, throw on a dime. And we've seen it in game. That throw to Broden you touched on where he rolls out, he doesn't complete it, but he scrambles away from pressure and throws a dot 45 yards down the field.
Yeah.
That's something that, let's be real, KJ couldn't do last year. KJ could do a lot of other things well. We saw him take on, throw the entire Alabama defense off his back. But
the finesse
and the speed, it's different this year, and it's cool to see the way that Talon's able to exploit that. We saw in the UAPB game, whenever he wasn't as accurate early, he used his legs, made a couple of plays, and then that made his let him settle in. And we saw him be so much better in the second quarter, in the second half.
Have you watched any of Arkansas's game? I mean, obviously you're an SEC fan, so you know how it was. But that 2010, 2011 time frame, do you remember any of that?
Oh yeah. Watching that, the Ryan Mallett, the Tyler Wilson offenses, the way that, obviously the in-person experience I have with that is growing up in Baton Rouge. I was at the game at LSU there when it was number 1 versus number 3.
Yeah, I was also there.
And it was fun to watch Arkansas then too.
So one of the big plays that Petrino would run was the wheel route with your running back. And it's not just the wheel route. And obviously did not want to do the hurry up here. Going to take time out. Poor clock management on my part. But seeing our running back, number 20, and back then it was Ronnie Wingo, out there wide open, and I know they didn't complete the pass, but I'm sure for so many of us that love Arkansas, like it got us just like, oh my gosh, we're so back. Oh my gosh, Jack. Oh my gosh.
Speaking of back,
and Jaquindon Jackson is so good. I mean, I think about the kind of season he could have. I mean, after these first 2 weeks.
Well, he's second in the country in rushing touchdowns through 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's not that. I mean, yes, one was against UAPB, but also scored 3 against Oklahoma State. And if it wasn't for him cramping up, I think he would have scored at least another one.
Yeah.
That was one thing that Arkansas really missed down the stretch, was he was just like every time he came out on the field, he would leave and he would be cramping up again. If he's, and that's something that will kind of get solved as the season goes on, as you get more and more into game shape and your regiment changes.
I know the air temperature was like 88, 89 degrees, I think, in Stillwater. Maybe it was cooler than that. But on the field in the full sunshine, it was hot.
Yeah.
And and that's the first game this season that all those players have played.
And had to go be
60-plus minutes, yeah. So I think people hear, they hear Gundy say we won because of conditioning. It's not. Arkansas is a well-conditioned team, but I heard this on the radio today. When you are training for a marathon, you don't go run a marathon. You want to make sure you're healthy enough to go play the game. So I think they'll be fine. At least I hope they will be. Because the best thing for the Arkansas program is for us to keep our offensive and defense coordinators intact, Oh, boy. Pick up the ball. There we go.
And there you see it, that pass protection.
Pass rush. All right. Let's see here. What do I want to do?
So, James, when you're playing this game in the little free time that you have, are you spamming Arkansas? Is that your move?
I haven't. Oh man, that must have gone forward. Yeah, I haven't really played with anybody else. I did mess around with a few different playbooks. Arkansas has a really good playbook on here, and that I think a lot of other people like it as well. All right, red zone time.
This is going to be a big area for Arkansas moving forward.
Which I thought they did well on Saturday. Every time they were down there, it was a touchdown. It was that outside the red zone.
Between the 40 and the 20, it was just, it felt like every time they got into that spot. And it was interesting because you almost had this, I don't know, you almost had this pattern develop. If you go back and watch it, you'll see it drive after drive where Taylor Green throws a big pass, gets him to about midfield.
Yeah.
Jaquindon Jackson has about a 20-yard run, gets him to about the 30, and then the drive stalls out.
Yeah,
either because they get a penalty, bad snap,
Arkansas put the ball on the ground a lot. And not just fumbles. There were a couple of bad snaps. And it's just those things, Jack, you're sitting there trying to hold the lead, and you're just like, please. Not like this.
Not like this.
Not like this. But I feel, I don't know how the rest of Razorback Nation feels. I feel a lot better after the Oklahoma State game, even though we lost. Because I think there is something to say for 20 years of coaching and staff continuity at Oklahoma State. They win games like that. They average 10 wins a year, The games in Fayetteville, maybe the result's a little different.
Well, and if this game's week 5, maybe it's even a little bit different.
Arkansas has kind of found itself a little bit.
Oh, no. I just threw it to the...
I thought you came down with it.
No, I did the whole... I play on Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
Went to throw it in the flat, and he throws it 60 yards that way. All right, let's go. Oh, we're not.
You know, when you're playing the CPU in this game, you can have a lead with 20 seconds left, and it will
Be gone in a second.
wreck you. Yeah.
Oh no.
Hey, you got rid of the ball.
Barely.
You punting?
Yep. There's no sense in going for it with 20. I'm not gonna score a touchdown in 20 seconds.
All right. This is the toughest play of every game. We caught the ball.
Oh no. Oh,
All right.
No.
Man, I love this guy.
He's so explosive.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of my favorite Razorbacks right now.
I think if there is an area you want to see some growth, it's in ball security. Not just from this weekend, but just generally.
I don't put the muff punt on.
No. I'm saying just generally. We've seen it out of him in the past as well. Of just like sometimes he can let his feet get in front of his hands, but the pure explosiveness to be able to return a kick like he did against UAPB. He had flashes.
All those were called back, weren't they?
Yes.
Officially, we don't have
He was only involved in one.
Okay.
I can't remember who was returning the second one, but I thought I audibled to a Hail Mary, but we go into the half, Arkansas 35-14. If this is the halftime score on Saturday, James,
I think people take it. Do you think after an emotional loss there's a concern for a slow start?
I think there can be. I think that whenever you play with the amount of emotion and the amount of snaps and physicality that goes into a double overtime game on the road, to come out on the short end of the state, like, you feel drained coming out of that. I think it helps that they get to, this will be the home opener. There will be a lot of energy just because of that fact that I think will help to make it not as slow of a start. And again, you're playing UAB, and you've been able to establish the run all season. I think that's what it takes to avoid those slow starts, is if I can run for 6 yards a pop, the game becomes a lot easier.
And, I know Petrino, I know we threw for 400 yards, but, I mean, he loves to use his running backs. All right, I'm going to run a Petrino classic here.
Oh, goodness.
Pistol boot.
Oh, going the other way.
Yeah, that's my bad. Got to improvise.
Something Taylor Green does so well.
So, we have plenty of time to talk about the rest of our season, the rest of our schedule. Arkansas's home schedule this year is a season ticket holder's dream. You currently have 3 of the AP top 7 coming to Fayetteville out of your 4 SEC home games. And that, to me, I'm like, man, you would think I think Arkansas can get at least one of those.
You'd hope.
I don't know who it'll be against. I think they'll probably play really well against Texas, just because they do. Ole Miss, they always look unbeatable. And then when they come to Fayetteville, it's not that they're terrible. They struggle. So, and Tennessee looks incredible 2 weeks in. I'm going for it, Jack.
Oh, goodness.
Tennessee looks incredible 2 weeks in, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, but also they have not really been tested.
I was
just going to call right now. I think Tennessee beats the brakes off of Oklahoma here in a couple weeks.
I think so too.
Oklahoma did not look good on Saturday night.
No, not against a not good Houston team that could be among the bottom of the Big 12.
So everyone remembers Barry Odom out at UNLV now.
Mm-hmm.
That team. Oh, how many? They beat.
They pieced like 40
on
something
Houston.
On them.
That Houston got beat by 40 points, and then Houston goes to Norman and looks like a great defense. And it's Oklahoma's offensive line, and so, yeah, I think that's going to be a problem for Oklahoma the rest of the year.
But you touched on this home slate. The thing that's difficult for Arkansas is that your theoretically easiest wins on the schedule are all at neutral sites or on the road.
That is hard.
Outside of your 3 non-conference G5 teams.
I think if I had it to pick, I would put all those 3 as road games and give everything else at home, and that gives you a great chance to win all your home games.
Exactly. Whereas now you're having to go on the road to Auburn, on the road to Mississippi State, and get wins against the only teams that aren't in the top 25, and then have to steal one at home.
Now, I will say this. I expect Arkansas to have 700 yards of offense against Mississippi State. I really do. Mississippi State is rebuilding. Oh, my gosh. Out of bounds.
Out of bounds.
Yeah, it was a mistake right there. I didn't mean to do that. And I say this as a Mississippi State grad. I watched them play Arizona State. I mean, it's just going to take some time. I mean, I think they could be good on offense, but thinking about Arkansas's current offense as we've seen it through 2 weeks against Mississippi State's defense, I think it should be far and away very different from 7-3 that we saw last year.
That was the worst game.
It's one of the worst football games I've ever watched. Gosh, he's so quick. I mean, give me a list here, Jack. Top 3 worst football games you've ever watched at the collegiate level.
Arkansas, Mississippi State's number 1.
Okay. And it could be on TV.
Yeah,
you don't have to be in person.
I'm trying to think. Give me a second. I'll come back to this at the end of the quarter. I'll get you a list as I think through this.
I'm giving you number 1 is 2008 Auburn, Mississippi State.
3-2?
3-2. The 3-2 game. Unbelievable performance, and that was an accident, but it was a touchdown. Armstrong, incredible.
How many times have we seen him? He caught one of those in the spring game.
Yeah.
He caught one of those against Kent State, right there on the end line, on a broken play. That's kind of his Andrew Armstrong's bread and butter.
Perfect, yeah. 3-2, 2008. I tuned in to another game in the early 2010s. It was Wake Forest and Virginia Tech. It finished regulation at 0-0.
Is that the Beamer meme where he's holding his arm up?
They're going to OT at the end of regulation, and he's holding up his hands. It's amazing. And then at number 3, I've got this Mississippi State Arkansas game from last year, 7-3. Now, an honorable mention, what I think would be, and Alan's sitting here with us. Alan, is Arkansas lost to UNLV a long time ago, and it was like 7-3. It was a bowl game. Do you remember what year that was? It's like 2001 or something like that. I think that could be an honorable mention.
I also think back to the I don't know if you remember the Hurricane game between Miami and NC State.
Yes.
Where no one could hold on to the football.
The Hurricane game, Notre Dame played in the Hurricane game
Yeah, that's who it was. It was Notre Dame.
Yeah. That when weather creates that big of a hurdle, man. Wide open. Yeah, and how about, I think I looked at A&M this year, and I thought, they're going to be pretty good. How much of that, I think Petrino had a lot to do with their ability to move the ball last year.
I think yes and no. I don't know how much control Bobby actually had on that offense last year. I also don't know how much of the struggles that we've seen are Notre Dame has a good defense, and it was week 1.
Yeah, that's true.
And because you saw them come out against an FCS opponent this past week,
and
just put up the points, and so we'll see. But I will say, like you mentioned, it felt like they were a lot more unbeatable 2 weeks ago, coming into the season, than they do at this point. Here we go.
It's amazing how every year there's a week 1 game that's played and you think these two teams are good, and then they're just not. I don't know if that's going to be the case with that one, but
it might be the case with LSU and USC this year.
I went for the pick. Travis Williams would not be happy about that call.
This dude is just slicing and dicing this defense into little tiny pieces. Carving them up completely.
All right, I think everyone would be semi-satisfied with this score going into the fourth.
About to kick it off after punching it in for the touchdown. He'll bring it out. It's Sategna. Nice job.
Good coverage.
Finally able to stop Sategna for the first time in like
I'm so hesitant to run trick plays on this game because I think I'm going to mess it up and it's going to go very badly.
Look, you got a 21-point lead. There's nothing you can lose at this point.
Hey, you don't know. You never know.
Coming out on first down with the play fake.
Let's see if we can get under the ball here. Nope.
And it's incomplete.
The first deep shot of the game.
It away as we have knocked down 3 quarters and head to the fourth. That's the end of the quarter, and Arkansas has the lead. This has been utter domination through 3 quarters. The stats will back that up.
You know, one thing I think this game has got wrong is I think Arkansas's offensive line has looked a lot better through 2 weeks than what they are rated on the game.
And then what you just saw right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, no, I do think they've been, like we've touched on, really good in opening holes for Jaquindon Jackson. They've been pretty great at
Bad throw.
But I also think Taylor Green has done a great job of helping to make them look better.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I know that an offensive line will appreciate out of a quarterback is when we've seen a couple times where things have broken down on the offensive line and he's able to scramble out and make a play on his own. That, as a fan, as you're watching, as you look at the stats, you don't realize, he was running for his life on this play, but was able to make something happen. You don't think back to those times. And so I think it's helpful to have a quarterback like that who can maybe paint over some of the sins of an offensive line.
Yeah, you see that everywhere across college football.
Well, and when we talk about Trent Dilfer actually talked about it some because we touched on how bad UAB was this past week at protecting the passer.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing he touched on was he was like, everyone wants to blame the offensive line in that situation. But, they had quarterbacks who had missed reads, running backs who didn't chip their blocks well. It's a group effort. Every play is a group effort that we sometimes try to simplify things a little bit too much for. Now in the game, we can clearly blame the offensive line all the time because for some reason...
How dare you miss a block?
But I think that time and again we've seen Taylor Green be able to make plays with his feet that allow for everyone else to kind of look good.
Yeah.
And as an offensive lineman, it's got to be so encouraging to, when you screw up, have someone that can kind of make a play and not allow you to get in trouble for it.
You got to set your feet before you throw. I learned that the hard way in this game. If you throw on the run, if I was to make that throw on the run, there's no guarantee it lands in the receiver's hands.
Even if he's 5 yards away.
Oh, I want to see more of this right here.
Read option.
Yeah. Although I don't think any of us want Taylor taking a lot of hits.
No. When we saw it some against Oklahoma State, and it wasn't entirely effective.
Yeah.
I think it becomes a lot more effective. We've seen as the closer you get to the goal line and the more the field shrinks. We've seen Taylor take in a couple of touchdowns on that kind of play. But I think back to like the fourth down where Taylor pulled it and ran and didn't work out. There are certain. I don't know if it's been as effective as you would hope it would be, just given the personnel, but he's still such a playmaker. You want the ball in his hands as much as you can.
I'm so excited for this offense. It's just, I know we had good offenses in 2021 and 2022, but last year I felt like Iowa. You know, where you just couldn't, and really, for being ranked so low on yardage, Arkansas actually scored, 21 points against Alabama. Coming up with that number with the 120th rated offense, pretty good. Jaquindon again.
Superman.
Having a day. I really got to work on kicking. I've almost missed like 3 extra points. Have you made a long field goal in this game yet?
Not on the road.
Oops. You're about to get the ball with really good field position. You
I
haven't made a
realize
field
we
goal
were
on the
doing-
road?
Huh?
You haven't made a ball a good
A
field
long
goal on the
field
road?
goal on the road?
Yeah.
No. Whenever the things.
Oh, yeah.
Ball game.
So the first time I played this game, started a dynasty with Arkansas, I went on the road to Oklahoma State and was down 21-0 like that. I'm glad it was nothing like that in real life. But I got down there, missed a field goal. They scored. I threw a pick six. They scored. And then another defensive breakdown on my part. It was over. That was weird. You know what I still am surprised by in every game?
The 2-minute timeout?
The 2-minute warning.
It's not the 2-minute warning, James.
It's the 2-minute timeout.
Officially.
Okay. I am not used to it.
Do you like it?
I don't. Because I think the game was fine the way it was. But, I mean, it changes the calculus. And if you burn a timeout, before that, you have a stoppage of the clock to make up for it.
I do like the idea that it kind of separates the game and allows you to, say, okay, this is the last 2 minutes. This is game time. This is crunch time. There is that line of demarcation there. Mm-hmm. The one thing I don't like is that it is an automatic TV timeout.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have 3 minutes to just sit there and think about it and contemplate life, and slows the game down. And you felt it in Stillwater. There was so much energy, so much momentum, and then you take that timeout just kind of forced in the middle of it. And it takes a lot for a fan base to keep that energy going.
Oh, man. I was going to say, Jack, if you don't run that in.
Look, Zeno does not have the best legs in the world, but he can pull it.
Were you running full speed?
Yes, that was.
Okay, I'm sure he's faster than
that was one area where Gary Bohannon certainly had the edge over Zeno at Baylor was mobility.
It's crazy all these Baylor quarterbacks are spread out as starters
all over the place.
In college football.
We'll talk about another one when they play Mississippi State.
Yeah, Blake Shapen. He looked good in his first 2 starts.
I didn't get to watch him against Arizona State. I know they struggled so much.
So late. It was so late. The kickoff was at like 10 o'clock here.
Yeah, I had been up the entire night before driving to Stillwater, so I did not.
Yeah, you did the whole trip in one day.
I left. We had Friday night touchdowns on Friday night.
Yeah.
And so we got done with that at like 11:30. Cut some stuff for Twitter. It was about midnight, and I wound up leaving at 1 o'clock to head to Stillwater. Got there at about 8:30. So
so when did you sleep?
At about 11 o'clock the next night.
Man, that's impressive.
You do what you do but I mean.
Did you just drink energy drinks?
Yeah. I'm a guy who sings in the car, who does whatever it takes to stay awake, and it was honestly fine. The bigger problem was I had a friend in Tulsa that I was staying with.
Yeah, okay.
And that hour drive back to Tulsa after the game was one of the hardest drives I've ever.
I find it harder on these night-long drives the last hour, no matter where you. That is the hardest. That's the hardest period of time to me.
Hey, at least this week it's just 2.5, 3 hours up to Fayetteville.
Yeah. And what other big road trips are you going to? Are you going to go to Starkville?
Planning to. It's all kind of up
That's
in the air.
pretty close.
At this point.
Dallas.
Starkville, Dallas. Who knows if they win this week and end up on ABC next week? We may see what we can do.
I hope they do.
To get down to Auburn, but that's a long drive. And
Yeah,
I
no.
don't have as many friends in
Auburn-
South Alabama as I do.
Auburn is my favorite SEC road trip. Now, I've never been to
Really?
Williams-Brice. I've never been to Kyle Field. Auburn is my favorite SEC road trip. I think the game day environment is as good as it comes. So I'm excited for that game. I really hope Arkansas can go get a win down there. After, of course, getting a win this weekend.
Hey, 49-35, James, you win. But you know, I put some good garbage time touchdowns
You
in there
did,
at the
a pick
end to make
six.
things interesting. But you know, Jaquindon Jackson,
There's our guy.
99 yards, 2 touchdowns. Look, I think 49 points people would be happy about. I think that if the Hogs gave up 35,
A little concerning,
but
but I'm no
win's a
defensive
win.
wizard, so
we'll have to get T-Will in here to give you some pointers
Yeah.
going forward. All right. Well, we're going to try to do this every week, I guess.
yeah.
be a
Next,
lot of fun.
hopefully knock out the next matchup would be Arkansas versus Auburn.
Auburn on the road.
Yeah.
On the plains. So we appreciate you tuning in. Tune in, I guess, every week as we keep doing this. We're going to talk Arkansas football, talk about their opponents, and look forward to each game this season.